Okay, I've connected one LAN cable here in one of the RS485 ports, and the cable goes all the way to the RS485 adapter, connects to the computer. We start the screen recorder, we start the JK BMS monitor software. We go to COM5, which is this RS485 adapter, click on connect, and nothing connects. It just doesn't connect. And I tried all kind of combinations with the dip switches on front of the, I tried 0, I tried 1, I tried other combinations, and it just doesn't connect. It doesn't communicate at all. So at the moment it's all 0. Let's set it to 1000. How funny would it be if it works right now, right? And this video would be totally obsolete. Okay, disconnect, connect. See, I've got device ID 1, COM5, and there's nothing. There's no communication, nothing. I've also tried the good old force updating, selected the right file for this version 14 BMS and tried the force updating. And there's a progress bar from 0 to 100%, and it sits on 0% all the time. It doesn't progress at all, nothing. Yeah. So I cannot establish any communication at all. If I go into the JK BMS app, we go under About, and here we can see it's the PB2A1620SP, serial number, hardware version, and its software version is version 40. So I've got full access through the app, and I can change all the parameters and everything, and the BMS works fine. See, it shows us all the cell voltages down here, all the settings are here, everything is working as it's supposed to be. Yeah, but I cannot get access to connect it to another BMS or even upgrade the firmware on it, because it doesn't communicate anymore. I may be wrong about this, I can't remember. I probably need to watch my own video, but it doesn't matter. When we did the replacement from the Pace BMS to the JK BMS, I am not 100% sure if we have changed the communication board as well, because the Pace communication board is exactly the same as the JK communication board for both BMSs. So you can actually very easily replace the Pace BMS with the JK BMS. All the cabling, everything fits, and you don't even need to replace the communication board. It is 100% the same. Yeah, we've tested this in one of these black batteries there. So I can't remember if this is actually the Pace communication board or the JK BMS communication board, which shouldn't matter at all. This is my only hope, that something is wrong with the communication board, and hence we don't see any communication. So let's find out. So first of all, I have to disconnect all this cabling here. I need to get access to the top 2 batteries. I need to move this one out of the way, but I will leave this one connected so I can keep charging. Because we've got a very sunny day today, and I want to take full advantage of that and charge all these batteries here as much as possible. Because from tomorrow and the rest of the week, there will be clouds. Yeah, so it will be very cloudy. It will be actually cooler, only 25 degrees, I know. But yeah, not much sunshine, and we may need a bit of battery backup then here to get over this cloudy period. At the moment I'm charging unlimited, everything into these batteries as much as possible. Bush monkeys. The problem with these front handles here is that you cannot really lift up the battery to put some timber underneath, so I can put my straps around it. Because usually I would use the side handles here to lift up the whole box. That's what I did with the Jikong and EEL boxes, and it worked all the time. That's what the handles are for. But this one lacks total handles, so I can lift up the battery just a bit, but then a third hand is missing to put the timber in between. So I need actually the crane to lift up the case first, put the timber in between, take off the crane, put my straps on, and then lift up the battery. So it's a bit of a process with these boxes here. I was so glad they are stacked on top of each other and I don't need to touch them anymore. But I didn't think about this generation 0 BMS here in this battery box. So, well, lesson learned. So now I can use some timber underneath to give me the space I need. So now I've got space underneath and I can put my straps around the battery box and then we can lift it. What a process. Alright, and I always put these straps a bit further to the back here because there's nothing in the front basically and the whole weight is in the back of the battery. So that's where I want to lift it, somewhere in this area here. Looks good to me as it is right now. Should work. Let's see if we get the nice even balance. Okay, I'll pull the other batteries out underneath and then we lower it down again to almost floor level, so if something happens it doesn't cause any major dramas. Cool, all right, so that was the first one. I could have lifted up both batteries at the same time, you know, and then take the top one off and put it back on the stack. But these straps I have are not long enough to deal with two batteries. So it is now a two-step process. Alright, everything is back in place. The Gobelpower is back connected. We are charging from the sun again. It's crazy. It's supposed to be cloudy today and we've got full sunshine. The weather forecast is all over the place at the moment. And now we've got the maiden version of the JK Inverter-BMS. Here at the top we can take off the screws, take off the panel, disconnect the battery and be safe when we do more testing and why this thing is not communicating. And you would think using this crane is easy work, lifting these heavy batteries on top of each other, but I'm actually sweating. It is still hard work and exhausting after a while, because moving this crane around is not very easy and I have to be a bit careful with the new walls here. I don't want to make any dents or smash into my battery shelf, and the space was really limited in here. And for some reason the air conditioner is still not working here. And now let's have a look at the pre-built Gobelpower battery, the SR1 PC200 with the paste BMS, at least originally. And that's what I like. They always come with this epoxy sheet here on top. It covers all your bus bars, all the terminal connections, everything is covered. There's no open contacts apart from this little piece here for the breaker. But you know, that's fine with me. And I think Gobelpower is the only manufacturer of these batteries who is actually supplying this epoxy sheet. And it's such an easy solution, right? There we go, full access to the battery. And this was not a do-it-yourself battery, this was pre-assembled, this came as it is from the factory. Alright, yes, I remember, and this box actually has also a CNN fuse down there. 85 volts DC, 200 amps I believe. And maybe 1-2 years ago this fuse was actually sitting in between these terminals. So I've got the front panel disassembled now. I've also taken off the main positive here just to be safe. And I had a look at all the cabling to the communication board and the BMS. And I cannot see any issues, so I was kind of hoping that one of the cables is not plugged in all the way, but yeah, there was a very small chance only that this actually occurred. But yeah, it all looks good to me. So what we can do now is we can replace the cabling and also the communication board and see if this makes a difference. If not, there could be something wrong with this first generation board here, the maiden, the virgin JK BMS board. I don't know. I have to contact Jikong otherwise and ask them for advice, so I'm not sure why this one is not communicating anymore. Yes, of course. I also checked the communication settings in the BMS and you cannot really change them because they are hard set to the internal JK BMS protocol. Yeah, when you parallel these batteries. And you can only change the protocol for the RS485 for the inverter communication or the CAN protocol. This one you cannot change. So I've got some brand new cabling. We don't need this one, we don't need this one. And also a brand new communication board from one of my spare JK BMSs. I don't think it will make a difference, but let's give it a shot. That is pretty much the only thing I haven't tried yet. So there we go. Unplug all these ones. Ah, this one has a clip. Hang on. Ah, yeah. And let's plug in the new communication board. We leave this floating around somewhere here. Maybe I can get it over here so it doesn't touch anything else. Turn on the BMS. It's good, all the lights coming on. And let's plug in. Chances are so small. Okay. So we are back in the JK BMS monitor software. We click on connect. We are still on COM5. Are we COM5? Yeah, we are definitely COM5. Connect. And there's nothing. There's nothing. Okay, just for the sake of testing, change the dip switch to... Ah, hang on. They are all on here. What's going on here? Hang on. Let's turn them all off and leave only number 1 turned on. They were all in the on position. We've got communication. No way. No way this had worked. We've got communication. What? Okay, we should be able to click on about and it tells us we are on software version 14.20. Okay, let's give it a shot and see if we can flash this BMS. This is the 200 amp version. Do I have the 25 here? Batteries, BMS, JK BMS resources goes to my Google Drive, and this is where the magic version 14. There should be a 25 here and here, right? Ah, 26 already. There's a 26. I'm so far behind. Download. Alright, we should have a 26 in here, and we are the 200 amp BMS. We click on open. See, there's no force updating necessary anymore, and we start an update process, and it just works. That is insane. Okay, so we have to find out what's actually broken. Is it one of the cables or is it the board? So we have to swap it back to the old board and replace one cable after another to actually find out what is going on. There, upload firmware successfully. Go to about, yeah, 14.26. That worked pretty well. Hey, really, there was only a tiny chance that there is something wrong with the cabling or the communication board itself. That is freaking insane that this one works and this one doesn't. Just for the fun, I plug this one back in with all the cables attached and see if it works now. Maybe there was a bit of corrosion or something, and from pulling and plugging the cables now it's... I don't know. Alright, plugged in the original cable again. Disconnect. Connect. No, there's no data. So something is going on here. Let me find out. So I'm trying now the new communication board with the old cabling and still no communication. So I'll replace the cables one after another and see which one works. That is crazy. There we go, we got communication. So I found out it is this cable. As soon as I replace this one, these are the old ones. Is there one? Maybe there's one contact coming out somewhere, because these are not glued together. What is wrong with this cable to the new one? Huh? So let me see if we have continuity with all the wires here of this old cable. When I say old cable, that's the one which didn't work. God, that's a bit tricky here. I need a... Okay, this one goes to here. This one goes to here. There. That is crazy. 100% the same as the new one. 100% the same. Why is this one not working? I'll put the old one back in. I can't believe it. Okay, disconnect, connect. No, this one does not work. All the contacts are there, all the pins are there, all the cables have continuity from one end to the other. It is not loose, not broken, there's no cable, but still it does not work. It works. So this is with the original communication board. This cable is the same. The big one, the wider cable is the same. I've only replaced this one here with a new one. Everything else stayed the same and communication works now. Let me plug it into the inverter and see if it actually communicates with the other ones. But I'm 99.99% sure it will communicate. Of course, we need to set this one to number 3, right? To number 3. So both 1 and 2 makes 3. Because this is 0, 1, 2, 3. And let's have a look here in the, where is it? JK Inverter-BMS. Here it is, details. No, it shows only 3. Oh, 4 online. There it is. Here it comes. Just as I said it. Oh, look at this. 2 online, 3 online, 4 online, 3 online. Ooh! There is something going on. I recall there was something going on with this BMS and the communication with other BMSs. It is too long ago, I can't really remember. But yeah, when I just see that, there is something going on. Okay, let's disconnect all the other BMSs and leave just the master and the slave on. So this one is 0 and this one is 1, all connected. Yeah, see, we've got 1 online, 2 online. It comes and goes. 2 online, 1 online. See? You may remember back in the day when we tested this BMS here for the very first time, there was a lot of confusion on how to connect it, and we had actually to use this RS485 connector, which is usually for the inverter, to communicate to the computer. We had to set certain protocols in the app to make it actually work. As I said before, there was a lot of back and forward between JK BMS, the retailer, the reseller, the store, the trader, and me. And we couldn't really figure out how this all works together, but then eventually we got it working, because clearly I have done upgrades on this BMS before. It was on 14.20. Yeah, and I can actually remember that we had this issue here, 2 online, and then after a while it says only 1 online, and it loses the communication there. 1 online loses communication to this BMS, and that's why I never connected this battery to the whole tower, because the BMS was not working correctly. So, but I already found out what the problem is. These are all the cables from the new communication board, but I left the old communication board in. Yeah, and this is when we see the loss of communication with this BMS here. If I used all the new cables with the new communication board, it all works. There's a stable communication between this BMS and the rest of the tower. There, 1 online. Okay, let me put this one back in. New communication board, new cables. Turn it back on. We've got 1 online, 2 online. So let's see if it changes back to 1 online, but I haven't seen it when I tested before. Seems to be stable, communicating now with the master. And even if I move the cables around here, there's no loss of communication. 2 online. See, it just works fine. Stable communication. Okay, let's change this one to number 3 again and plug in the other 2 BMSs, and we should see a 4 online coming up. 3 online, 4 online. 1178 ampere hours and 635 available. 4 online. See, there's no going back and forward anymore, nothing. So there's clearly something wrong with the communication board as well as the smaller cable here. I've got now both communication boards here on the workbench next to each other. One is the new, one is the old one. Can you tell? I'll turn them around for you, because then you can read the version number. Version 1.01. Version 1.01. Ah, you still can't tell, alright? Because there's no difference. There's no freaking difference. That is the exact same board. And there are no active components on these boards, right? No ICs, no transistors, not even a resistor. It is only tracks on this PCB, contacts, ports, LEDs, dip switch, reset, that's it. Well, this one is the new one, this one works, this one doesn't. For whatever reason, this one doesn't work. So there you have it, the old communication board not working, this cable is not working, for whatever reason, these two are working. But now I've got the other communication board installed with the new cables. And where's my, here it is. And we are still on 4 online, not changing anymore. It is stable on 4 online. You know what? I'm really glad that working with the crane this morning actually paid off. Because we had to get access to replace the hardware inside this box, right? It wasn't just a software glitch or any other problem. It was a hardware issue. We had to replace parts. How crazy is that? Alright, I would say let me put everything together and then we can connect this battery as well to the whole Gobelpower. And then we have 2 version 14 BMSs and 2 version 15 BMSs communicating beautifully together with one of the version 14s being the master, but you can also have a version 15 being the master, doesn't matter. You can mix and match even different firmware versions in these BMSs. They're all communicating, they're all working together, and the master picks up all the data from all these batteries. That's why we like JK BMS so much, right? It just works. Once you fix the communication board, of course. So everything is now back connected, positive is back, all the communication cables, I checked everything again, I put the epoxy sheet back on just for safety reasons. And before I actually close this case here, I want to address the issue with the hole here and 3D print something so it covers these holes and also gives us access to a display. I'm not sure if I use the 3.4 or 3.2 inch display because I don't really super like it. It gives us some information, but it is fairly big actually, and yeah, it has this weird, look at this. And I don't want to make this cutout wider here for the 4.3 inch display either, because I don't want to have a touch display in here. And I have actually bought some of these very small displays here for the JK BMS, you know, the ones with the 6 meter long cable, which we can easily shorten. But we may actually test and install the very new display from JK. It is not out in the market yet, but I have it in one of my boxes over there. And I think we can also change parameters on the display then. That is a brand new development. Maybe this is an option to install in this battery box here and test it out. But more about this in a future video. Alright my friends, I think so far this video from today, fixing the communication issue with the JK Inverter-BMS, the maiden, the first one. See, this one has actually no heat shrink around the coil. And if one of these coils hits the chassis of the BMS, we've got voltage on the case here. That was the problem with one of the 100 amp BMSs we had in, I think it was in this one here, right? In one of the do-it-yourself cases. Yeah, and they now have a heat shrink around this coil here. But this one here is the very first JK BMS we have ever seen and tested. Very cool that it now works and we can integrate it in the Gobelpower Tower of Power. And we've got 4 JK BMSs here in parallel then. And this all works fine with the new PIDA board. This is an incredible piece of technology I will show you in a future video as well. I'm preparing everything for that at the moment. But it shows you all details of all 4 batteries, down to the cell voltage, down to all the settings, down to everything of all 4 batteries. And it connects actually to the internal RS485 board. Amazing! Yeah, and of course it integrates in Home Assistant. We cannot really figure out what is wrong with the other board. There could be one of the tracks on the PCB has a crack somewhere, and that's why the communication doesn't work anymore, but we don't know. So we are actually working a bit result orientated here with this fix now. Replacing parts, everything works, all good. Let's see how many we have. 606,266. I cannot do this number. 106,000, guys. We made it. 106,200. I'll make up a number now. 285. You stay there. Thank you so much for 106,285. Even it is a bit less at the moment, but until the video comes out, I'm sure we get there. Thank you so much and welcome to all the new viewers and subscribers. And also thank you very much to everyone who's donating a beer, who's clicking the thanks button underneath and buying me coffee. All these links how you can support the channel here are down below. And if you like, leave a comment, leave a like, share these videos and forums, because there's all this fantastic support and makes these videos possible. Alright my friends, until the next video when we do something different again, maybe, I don't know yet. Until then, you stay charged, stay safe, and thanks again for watching. See you then, bye bye.